welcome to Inspirational Transformational TV show. Amy Whitney here today with special guest Ronnie Kane. Ronnie writes under the name of Angela McFetridge, and I've invited her today to speak about her new book, Deceiving Angela. Deceiving Angela is actually a true story, and that story covers topics from child abuse to emotional, mental, physical abuse in her marriage, to a crazy divorce and settlement procedure, to losing all of her contents in a hurricane, receiving no support in raising her son from her son's father, to now having to live in exile in Canada. The journey that Ronnie has been on is mind-boggling. Deceiving Angela is a book that you really just can't put down once you start, because you're amazed. You just go, what next? What next? And interestingly enough, you will find Ronnie, when speaking, she also asks, what next? But not in fear, in hope. And it is so amazing to listen to her tell her story, but still be so excited for tomorrow. And the love that she shines with for her children and for her current husband and for her mother is really, really beautiful. So sit back, enjoy the story, and if you have the opportunity, purchase Deceiving Angela. It is an amazing read. Today we'll touch on some of the topics, but to have the full story, really grab the book. It's well worth it. Enjoy. Ronnie Kane, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate your true story that you've written, Deceiving Angela. It absolutely had me on the seat, or on the edge of my seat, I should say, through the whole thing. Now, when I think about the book, or while I was reading the book, to me there was a definite feeling of seasons in the book. And for me, it started in a summer. You were young, beautiful, out dancing. I wanted to start the interview at that point. I wanted you to take us to that point of your life. Tell me about where you were at, what was going on for you, and then lead into when you met your now ex-husband, James.
Okay, well, going back, I was young. I believe I started the book, I was 19. I had recently just moved out of my parents' home and was living on my own. And I had my first real professional job. And I had a very active social life. And I made really good friends with the girl I worked with. So we would hang around together, and I'd talk. I'd do some flashbacks into some of the things that I'd been through when I was 17, 18, made some very unwise decisions and did some silly things. But yeah, that was a great time in life. Just out on my own place. Could come and go as I pleased. My father played in a band downtown, and I had lots of friends in the bars, and a little bit of a drinker, not so much, but I liked to dance and I liked to play darts, and I had a lot of friends there, so I was very happy and comfortable in my life, and things were just going great, I thought.
Fantastic. And it was at that point that you were introduced to James?
Yes, I had worked there at the doctor's office, and James was a friend of the doctor that I worked for, and he was in and out of the office fairly frequently, daily basis, and he would come and go, and that's how I got to know who he was. And there was a point where he asked me out on a date after several months of, it seemed he was even too nervous to talk to me, and I had a chat with the doctor, and I think he encouraged James to ask me out on a date, so that's how things kind of got started.
Nice. And when you were dating James, did you notice any signs, like any of those ding, ding, ding moments?
Well, it's easy to say now that I know what I do know, but to go back to it, and a difficult thing that I had when I was trying to write that point in our relationship from a naive point of view where I didn't know, There were some things that didn't settle right from time to time, but when you're dealing with someone like James, they're always able to play it up, explain it away to where you feel comfortable with their explanation, and you even question, why did I think that? You know, what's wrong with me? And you internalize it. And but to look back on it, when we were dating, aside from not being as comfortable with him as I had wanted to be, because he seemed so enthralled with me, and I thought, well, the right thing to do was to return that sentiment. That's the thing that was the least settling for me, was the fact that he seemed to have so much feeling for me, and I didn't return that, and that bothered me, and I didn't understand why.
Because on the surface, everything he was doing, he was, you know, he was
perfect.
Casanova, and absolutely.
Yeah, he was.
And knowing now what you went through, what would you say to any young woman, or if, suppose the Board of Education came to you and said, what are the signs that we should add into our curriculum? How do we teach young women what to watch for with relationships that might become abusive?
Well, I think what started to happen was what I perceived as care and love was actually him starting to control my life. Little things that I used to do, he would take me away from those things. I used to go down and visit my mother every Sunday, and it started to where it was like, well, this Sunday, this is happening. Don't you want to go with me for that? Don't you want to come over? We're having a party. We're going to watch the football game, and we're going to do this, something special. So he started taking my Sunday morning visits with my mother away, and that was, I mean, I had just recently moved out from home. I wasn't used to being away from Mom, and seeing her was a weekly thing that I did, and we spoke on the phone, and I would see her, and he would take away from that by keeping me busy all the time. And what I thought was, oh, isn't this sweet? He's inviting me over, and I would call Mom and say, I can't come down, I'm going to be doing this with James. And it bothered her, but I didn't see that that was what he was doing. I didn't see it as controlling. I saw it as we were dating. And when Mom would say something about it, you know, she'd say, you need to kind of back off. I'm like, why would we do that? We're dating. We're spending time together. We're getting to know each other. And he would call my house every night at the same time, which I took as something sweet. He's calling to say goodnight. I didn't ever see it as he was calling me to be sure I was home. So those kinds of things, and I think your own internal dialogue tells you things, and sometimes you ignore them, and that's what I was doing. The reason that I wasn't comfortable with him was because there was something wrong, and it was my subconscious. I believe that my subconscious was saying, no, whoa, stop, red flags, but I just went right on with it, and I ignored what my subconscious was trying to tell me. And I ignored what my mother, she saw well before I did, and I ignored what she was trying